Okay, let's talk about one of the most confusing topics out there, taxes. But don't worry, we're gonna break it all down with a simple story about a raccoon, some apples, and a whole bunch of leaves. You know that feeling, right? You work hard all week, you see that big, promising number on your payslip, but then the amount that actually lands in your bank account feels, well, a little smaller. It's a feeling pretty much everyone has, and there's a very good reason for it. So, to get to the bottom of this whole mystery, let's follow the adventures of our furry friend here, Raccoon. He's a hard worker at the local apple farm, and just like a lot of us, he's about to have his very first run-in with the wild world of finance.
So, our story kicks off as Raccoon wraps up a long week at the apple farm. He's feeling pretty good about himself, proud of all his work, and he's about to get paid for the very first time.
He's supposed to get 100 leaves. That's the currency in his jungle. But when he actually gets his pay, he counts it, and he only has 80. Wait, what? What happened to the other 20 leaves? This is the big question. Where did they go?
Well, those missing 20 leaves, that's something called a tax. And really, it's a mandatory payment that every single raccoon in the jungle has to give to the raccoon government. It's not optional, it's just one of the rules.
Okay, so the government takes some of the leaves. The next obvious question is, why? I mean, what are they even doing with everyone's hard-earned foliage? The good news is, those taxes aren't just disappearing. They're being used to pay for all the stuff the whole community shares. You know, things like building new tree houses, running the hospitals, funding schools, paying the owl police force, launching acorn-based space programs, and even just keeping the jungle clean.
But here's where it gets a little more complex. It turns out, the government doesn't just take leaves from your paycheck. Oh no. There are actually a bunch of different ways they collect these community funds. Let's break them down.
For our purposes, we're just going to focus on the 4 big ones that Raccoon is most likely to bump into. You've got income tax, sales tax, property tax, and this other one called capital gains tax.
So here's what that actually looks like in a raccoon's daily life. That income tax, that's the 20 leaves that vanished from his paycheck. Then, when he goes to buy an apple as a snack, an extra leaf gets added to the price. Yep, that's sales tax. And if he saves up enough leaves to buy his own awesome treehouse, he'll have to pay a yearly property tax on it.
All right, deep breaths. Now we're going to get into the one part that confuses pretty much everyone, tax brackets. I know it sounds super complicated, but I promise once you see how it works, it's all going to click.
So let's imagine Raccoon becomes an absolute superstar apple picker and starts earning 100,000 leaves a year. He hears on the news that he's in the 22% tax bracket. So, how much tax does he actually pay? The answer seems obvious, but it's almost always wrong.
Most people think it works like this. You just take the whole 100,000 leaves and multiply it by 22%. That would be a massive 22,000 leaves in taxes. But that is not how it works. That is absolutely the wrong way.
So here's the big secret. Our tax system is progressive. You only pay a certain rate on each part of your income. So Raccoon pays 0% on his first 10,000 leaves. Then he pays 12% on the next chunk of 40,000 leaves. It's only on that final 50,000 that he pays the top rate of 22%. And just look at the difference. By doing it the wrong way, he would have paid 22,000 leaves. But the right way, his total tax is only 15,800. That's over 6,000 leaves saved just by understanding how the system actually works. It's a total game changer. Okay, so we're starting to understand the theory. But how does the government know exactly how much you owe? Well, that's where filing a tax return comes in.
Now, when Raccoon files his return, he can claim things called deductions. Think of these as work-related costs, like maybe a special uniform for apple picking or some new climbing tools. These can actually lower the amount of his income that gets taxed. And if he's lucky and he paid a little too much tax during the year, he might even get some leaves back in a tax refund.
This all sounds fine and dandy, but the whole system really depends on everyone being honest and paying their fair share. So, what would happen if Raccoon just decided, you know what, I'd rather keep all 100 of my leaves and just didn't pay? Well, the Raccoon government does not take that lightly. It starts off with the warning letter. Then they start adding interest charges on top of what he owes. If he still doesn't pay, they can just forcibly take the leaves from him. And in the most serious cases, he could end up in the jungle's maximum security prison. Yikes. And who exactly are they? Well, every country has its own tax collection agency.
In the USA, it's the IRS, which, well, we can imagine them as the Internal Revenue Silverback, a very powerful, very serious organization you do not want to mess with. Now, it's super important to remember that Raccoon's jungle isn't the only one out there. The rules for taxes can be wildly different depending on where you are in the world.
I mean, just look at this. In places like Finland and Japan, the top tax rates are over 50%. But then you've got places like the Cayman Islands where the income tax rate is 0. This huge difference is why deciding where to live and work is one of the biggest financial choices an animal, or a person, can ever make. So after all of that, what's the big takeaway? Taxes can feel super overwhelming, but they don't have to be scary. The two best things any raccoon can do are, 1, make a clear budget to keep track of their leaves, or 2, if they're really confused, just hire a professional raccoon tax accountant to help them out.
And that really leaves us with this one final thought. While pretty much nobody loves paying taxes, they are the leaves that build the bridges, staff the hospitals, and keep the entire jungle running for everyone. They're the financial proof of that classic saying, "Raccoons together strong."